Agric Day for 2018, and Nigeria is part of that. The Nigerian Stock Exchange, which we call the center of capitalism, is putting together a major conference today to bring key participants together to discuss Nigeria's agriculture using the platform of the Securities Exchange markets. Bolaji Akinboro, the CEO of Cellulant Nigeria and co-founder of Cellulant Corporation, is here live in the studio on this very important day of how we feed, we clothe, we have healthcare, we have energy from agriculture. Bolaji, it's good to, let's continue this conversation. So this put together the panel and other discussions with the stock exchange. You think it's important to bring Broad Street into this conversation?
Extremely, very, very important. Because, you know, one of the major challenges in agriculture is liquidity. How do you inject liquidity, that's capital, into agriculture? And the most efficient way you do that is through capital markets. And that really means organizing and preparing agriculture for capital markets. And that's what we want to get out there, that, you know, the capital market now is involved in agriculture. Is it
very curious to you that we have more oil companies listed on the stock exchange than we have agric companies?
Very, very curious. Because a company like Nigeria, like the former minister used to say, when you wake up in the morning, you don't drink oil, you eat food.
That's okay. Additional. Yes. He's passionate about it. So we need to change chasing stocks of oil retailers,
yes,
or petrol stations, if we want to bring it down to the street, and chase those in the agric value chain.
Exactly.
But we don't have this value chain yet.
Okay.
Or do we really have it?
This is what I would say. The value chain exists, but the value chain is not visible. So agriculture has kind of been like an invisible sector that people do not have an understanding of the sheer size and the sheer potential of some of the actors. And I'll give you an example, like what is going on in just one local government in Zamfara State, Gumi. In the past 6 months alone, the volume of trade, agric trade, farmers who are selling rice, connecting them to big companies, in the past 6 months alone is 3 billion naira. So if they told somebody in Lagos that such opportunities exist in far away in Zamfara State, they say, oh, no, it's a lie. So
you're telling me?
I tell you.
I'm likely thinking about relocation.
Exactly.
If you have billionaire farmers there, so what are we doing in Lagos?
Exactly. So when you take a look at Zamfara State, whose economy is agric-driven, Jigawa State, you're going to discover that the size of this economy is close to like 50, 60 billion naira from agriculture alone. But because agriculture is kind of like a kind of invisible value chain, people don't see it. But you know, oil, you can see a filling station, you can see a refinery. But that is changing slowly. Because as you go around the country now, you begin to see these huge silos. And now we're insisting that when trucks are carrying agricultural produce, just the same way you know a truck is carrying petrol, let the trucks be branded so that people can see trucks of food, real cars of food going around.
Yeah. So the vice president spoke a few months ago about the need and what this administration is doing to ramp up on agric value chain, or what you call agric technology, agric industrialization.
Yes. Tremendous work is going on by the current government, tremendous work. Let's take the work going on in what we call staple crop processing zones. I'm sure if you've been to China before, there are zones like Shenzhen, Shenzhen, Guangzhou. I mean, these are hubs of economic activity. So the government of Nigeria is building this, not what building, accelerating the development of these hubs all across the country. There are about 15 of them right now. So that these hubs now, they are hubs of there's power, there's roads, there's primary processing, everything you need is there. So that instead of everybody rushing into Lagos, rushing into Kano, rushing into Port Harcourt, they begin now to run into Kogi State, they begin to run into Zamfara, they begin to run into Jigawa. These are hubs of economic activity. And we feel that maybe by late next year, thereabouts, these hubs now begin to come on stream full time. And you begin to now see, I mean, agriculture for what it is, visible things that are going on. Even in this Lagos where we are, there are huge fish estates set up by Lagos state government. You know, that when you go there, you will not really believe that you are in Lagos or that you are in Nigeria, that such business takes place in Lagos. So in Lagos, you are not going to farm, but you see fish business, huge value chain, chicken, huge value chain, and some beast of processed meat, huge value chain in Lagos.
Lagos is also talking about a mega rice mill.
Exactly, one of the largest on the continent, huge, you know, more capacity in excess of 1 million metric tons. So you begin to discover that mill becomes a magnet. So for example, Ogun State government is promoting rice production. So think about it. Ogun State government is just a few kilometers away. Now rice can flow from Ogun into the mill in Lagos. They process it. All of us in Lagos can eat that rice. And then you see this spillover effect because now everybody benefits. You buy from the store, you pay some little taxes. The farmer that gets paid gets some little income. Everybody wins through agriculture.
But what are the roles of indigenous entrepreneurs like yourself in agriculture? Because some of the technology and technological innovations we're talking about, someone has to develop it.
Oh, great.
And someone has to pay for it.
Exactly. So we, the entrepreneurs, we play two roles. Number one, we play the role of connecting. Those who need the innovations and those who have them, we're the guys that connect them together. And then we play the role of connecting people to the markets. So we connect them to the invention, to the innovation, to the technology as we've been saying. Then we connect them to the markets. And then most importantly now, we play the role of the intermediator. So let's take what we are doing now. We are creating a new class in Nigeria of entrepreneurs called community market connectors. Because in rural communities all over Nigeria, there are farmers who need to be connected to a company, a processing plant, somebody somewhere. Now these community market connectors, they are entrepreneurs. They have a small warehouse. They have some little capital, 200,000. So they can buy things from those farmers, keep it there. By the time you aggregate these guys together, it becomes a huge volume. And I can give you numbers. We ran the campaign inviting Nigerians to sign up as community market connectors 2 weeks ago. We invited 23,000 Nigerians to sign up as community market connectors. As of today, 3,000 have signed up all across all the local governments. So if you wanted, let's say, soya beans from anywhere in the country, you fire the request to all these community connectors that somebody in Lagos wants soya beans. What do? They tell the community members, somebody wants soyas. They help to aggregate all the soyas. So 20 bags from farmer A, 20 bags from farmer B, slowly it becomes 600 bags. Just like Uber, they request from their mobile phone for a truck. A truck comes, they pick it up. The government of Nigeria is talking about financial inclusion. There are no banks there, but because the people now have been connected to an economy, they need to get paid. You can now set up an agency banker in that community for them. It becomes the banker to the neighborhood. So you now begin to see that a single bag of rice can actually create 3 jobs: a community market connector and the neighborhood banker or the community banker. So interesting times ahead for Nigeria through agriculture. And now you see why the capital market is really now taking this really seriously.
Yes, that's one interesting when we even get even the stockbrokers involved and interested in this. And that's what today's stock exchange come together is all about.
Yes, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Because the reason is that, you see, immediately we can raise the profile of agriculture. Because the way people think about agriculture is that I must put a hoe on my shoulder, I must dress in tattered clothes. But who would believe that a fellow like me, dressed in this kind of nice suit, it's agriculture that is keeping our company in business all across the continent.
This comes from agriculture.
This comes from agriculture.
This comes from agriculture.
Or paid for by agriculture.
Or paid for by Agric. I don't mind wearing a nice suit like yours, paid for by Agric. But again, when we talk about agriculture in Nigeria and with financial institutions like commercial banks, folks still think largely about farming.
Oh, yes.
And that is still...
And that's old school thinking, really.
Yes. So how do we change that? Because most of the substantial part of credit going to agriculture as an industry goes to a subset, which is just farming.
Yes, and this is how we are changing it. You must have heard the government talk extensively about this Akinboro program. There's commercial Agric programs, so many programs out there. Number one is information. A lot of the people that want to play in the Agric value chain, apart from the farming bit, are not aware of the financing instruments that are available for them. So we fix that gap of information. The next gap we fix is access to relevant technology. A lot of work has been done in Nigeria to make all kinds of technology available, but the knowledge for those who need it, it's not available. So same thing, we fix the connection to technology and we fix the information gap. I mean, to me, those are the 2 major things we have to fix, because to a large degree, the money is there. When you look at the money that is available through the banking sector, through initiatives of the government, through initiatives of multinational development partners, the capital is there, the liquidity is there, but information is preventing it from flowing to other actors beyond the man at the last mile, the primary production leg. And it's an information gap. I mean, economists will call it information asymmetry, really.
Yes. But do you think farming It's the lowest hanging fruit.
It's the lowest hanging fruit. I mean, if you want to, is the lowest hanging fruit in terms of, let's say, having economic inclusion of many Nigerians, because a lot of people are still on the land. So just like China, what do we want to do? We want to lift our people up the value chain. So the man is on the land today. We enable him to earn more to leave the land. And then as you mechanize and you do all this interesting technology, the share of population on the land begins to reduce.
So where do they go?
They move up the value chain in the economic ladder.
Which are processing,
marketing,
storage,
financing, storage, transport. They move up the value chain.
Interesting.
For example, in America, only a small proportion of people are in agriculture, less than 5%.
Or in farming.
In farming, yeah. On the land. Very small proportion. Everybody has moved up the value chain.
I want to move up too. You've moved up.
I've moved up the value chain.
You've moved up the value chain. I just look at you and I know I can move up as well. But if you look at agriculture and the future of the Nigerian economy, look at what we're contributing recently. Our GDP to Agric per head is still very, very low. 2016, 4.1%. 2017, 3.5%.
No, it's going to grow tremendously. And let me tell you why it's going to grow. When you look at our food import bill, extremely very high. When you look at smuggled products into Nigeria, extremely very high. And they're very high because local markets are not functioning efficiently. So by fixing the problems through this kind of technology we talk about, you know, the agricultural blockchain technology and things like that, and you make that market visible, you now begin to solve that problem. So today, when statistics are reported, they're reporting what I call the visible part of the statistics.
Yes.
You know, but as we bring the invisible part into light, you're going to see that share grow. I project that agricultural share of economy, if we get things right, the way things are going, will rise up to be like 15% to 20% over the next 2.5, 3 years. And then it will maybe peak at around a quarter to 30% of the economy. Then it will kind of begin to drop because other parts of the economy will begin to grow. Because as one side grow, you know, there is this network effect. And as the pie grows, the share that was so large also kind of, in statistical terms, shrinks. Yes. But in dollar terms, it will not really shrink.
Yeah, because more folks are in there, but there's more money coming in.
Exactly.
So everybody got a better share.
Exactly. Everybody's getting a better share.
What Nigerians would like to see at the end of the day is to go to, as you have in developed economies and markets, go to a store and have Agric products that are branded at very cheap rate. Food is expensive in Nigeria.
Yes. And I can tell you why.
They're not even subsidized.
Yes, they're not even subsidized. I mean, the issue of subsidy for finished products, very complicated discussion.
I know. You know, that's for another. I know whether we should subsidize the productive end or the consumptive end. But Nigerians want to go to a store, get vegetable, get carrots, get whatever it is, groundnut, whatever, at very reasonable rate for households. And we have large households. And we're breeding more.
Yeah. I mean, the solution is simple. We just go to ramp up production extremely very fast to very high volumes. For example, the yields that farmers are getting today on their farms versus global average, even African average, is very low. So that's why a lot of effort is going into getting better fertilizer into the hands of farmers, better seeds, making sure that when farmers produce, they can get those things to market extremely very quickly. The roads are bad, really, really terrible. You know, at times you'd wonder whether you're in a war zone when you see the quality of roads. So I'll give an example. If you take a truck of soya from Benue State, it takes 3 days to reach Ibadan. If you take that same truck in Algeria or Morocco or Tunisia, it's going to take you 9 hours. Same distance. Why? Because the roads are full of potholes. You know, there are no street lights. The freeways are not lit. You know, there are so many checkpoints. You know, there are so many guys disturbing truckers. So you see these issues and they contribute. So policy-wise, we fix production. We fix access to market, get things to market very fast. We fix infrastructure. And then those 3 things to me are the winning.
We still need a bit of an executive order in agriculture.
Oh, definitely. We need another executive order. Yes.
Dedicated to agriculture.
To agriculture. Because the executive order has worked magic.
It looks like
at the airports.
Yeah, looks like it works. Then we move to exports.
Exactly. Exports, exactly. And you know the state of the roads to the ports and exports. So let me give another example, and this is good. Population of Nigerians outside of Nigeria is in excess of 10 million. So it really means you have a mini Nigeria spread all over the world.
Another Nigeria.
Another Nigeria. Let's call it Nigeria outside of Nigeria. And they want to eat made in Nigeria produce. They want Nigerian entrepreneurs to bring things to them. Huge diaspora market for Nigeria. So,
in particular, when you move to Asia.
Exactly.
Where you have no amala joint yet, at least not that I am aware.
No amala joint.
Yes, in Europe you still find a bit of that, exactly. But nothing in Asia, to my knowledge.
Exactly. So if we make the journey of exportation easier for our entrepreneurs, then things become much better. And then our entrepreneurs are innovating now. For example, let's take you want to export yam. Exporting yam by itself is a waste of time because you're exporting water. Because yam is 70% water. But exporting processed yam powder, it's a game changer. Because the same container that will take 2 or 3 tons of yam as yam itself, you might discover that I take 20 of powder.
Let's keep that idea. Let's keep that business idea to ourselves. I'm not sure anyone heard that part of the conversation. Bolaji Akinboro, the CEO of Cellulant Nigeria and co-founder of Cellulant Corporation. That's today on World Agric Day 2018. Nigeria sharing that later today. Let's come back. The marketplace is where we go. It was the debt market trading week. The central bank is rolling out another multi-billion mop-up this week. We got an interesting conversation on this deep end of the market street.